Okay, I'd like to thank all the responses from the last episode. There's some really great work. I'm going to show those off at the end of the video. If you're new to this new channel of mine, the point of the channel is that I produce a sketch, a starting point for my subscribers or just the viewers, and it's a collaborative project, so you can download the drawing that I'm producing now over at my Patreon page. You don't have to become a patron, it's free to just download the drawings. You continue to work into the drawing that I provided, add colour, add texture, add a background or distort it, do whatever you want with it. Send it back to me on the Dropbox link. Again, both of those links are going to be down in the description to this video. Send it back to me and I will feature them on the next episode that I produce on this channel. I've had a few really good responses to last episode. Sorry for the delay showing them and the delay of this episode. Unfortunately, I had some sad news. My cat unfortunately died last week, and it kind of knocked the stuffing out me a little bit and delayed the editing and releasing of this video. So I'd already had all the contributions from people. Sometimes when you lose a pet, it becomes almost like a family member, and honestly, I just didn't have the motivation at the time, but we're back to normal now, so I do try to release these videos every 2 weeks where possible. Sometimes it extends to 3 weeks, but I think 2 weeks is an important length of time, and to allow people to really get involved, give them the time to actually respond to the pieces of work, the drawings that I've provided. Anything less than that isn't going to give people the time, especially with work and other commitments. Trust me, I realise how difficult it can be sometimes to find time to be creative. So 2 weeks is the minimum amount of time that I will provide. And like I say, occasionally, through circumstances, whatever, it might extend to 3. 2 weeks is the ideal. So if you've seen the other episodes, you'll know that basically I don't really have any idea of what some of these shapes might turn into. They're just a collection of forms. I do like to doodle and start drawings and paintings like this with no real preconceptions about where it's going. There's certain things that I've looked at when I do observational studies, like skeletons, like trees, other things like that. I tend to gravitate towards those types of shapes, but that doesn't mean that you have to interpret them like that. And indeed, thankfully, people generally don't. So what I want really is your imagination to interpret the forms however you see them. So whether you see faces, landscapes, or anything for that matter, it's entirely up to you. Just going to reduce the size of this, give a little bit more space around it. I do that quite often with my drawing, is that I start off at a certain scale and then I decide that I want more space around it to do more things, so we'll reduce the size of it. Having said that, I'm not going to do a great deal more with this particular drawing. I do prefer to keep it quite loose, give people the option of extending, of adding their own details to it, their own imagination on top of what I've actually done. I think if I do too much, then it perhaps can limit people a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to keep it really quite loose for this week. I've done lots of drawings myself over the last sort of couple of weeks, but if I provided those, the detail is almost too much on them. They're too much at a finished stage, and I think that if I gave those to my subscribers, to you, to actually continue on, it would just be a case of colouring them in. I don't really want that. I want you to actually add your own imagination onto it rather than just adding colour. So let's see what you can come up with. I'm going to show you the work from last episode now, because there's some really amazing work. Okay, I would appreciate it if you could send your files as JPEGs where possible. It just makes them easier for me to open and to actually do things with. So the first example is from Andre Peters. Andre's provided a few contributions to this project so far, and this is one of his best ones. Really like this one, Andre. Really imaginative, colourful, vibrant sort of space scene with some kind of strange alien lizard creature that seems to be sort of blending with some rocket ship. Really imaginative, really like this piece of work. Lots of different interesting textures going off on this as well. So good to see you experimenting with the different brushes, and genuinely a really nice piece. So thanks very much for that contribution, Andre, really like it. The next piece of work is from Andy Groudeville, and this is a really great sci-fi piece of work. Love the background, love the kind of galaxy storms, the textures and the colours and the lighting in the background, really fascinating, as well as the actual ship, obviously. So good to see how this has become something really original, really been embraced by Andy, and it's gone from the drawing and it hasn't stuck, 100% to the lines of the drawing, which is great. So it's kind of gone into its own territory, which is really nice to see. But really good use of lighting, really good imagination on this, Andy. Fantastic piece of work, thanks so much. Okay, this is not something I would have anticipated from the drawing, but I can see where it's come from the front figure, the ballerina. I can see the forms there that I provided in the sketch, and it's a really beautiful piece of work, this. Very much in a kind of chalk pastel kind of look to the piece. Some really interesting things going on in this particular piece of work. Love the muted colours, love the texture, love the sort of hidden figures and the sort of symbolism that's going on with the swan. So Anita Marianne has provided or contributed other pieces in the past, and I think this is one of your strongest, Anita, so really lovely piece of work this. Thanks so much for contributing this. Okay, this next piece of work is from Chris Jackson. Again, Chris has contributed a few different pieces to this project, but this is by far and away the best thing that I think that you've contributed so far, Chris. I really love this piece of work. Fantastic colours, really nice water effects. I love all the forms at the front of the piece, these sort of spiky growths coming from the water, and I really like the way that you've interpreted that shape. It looks like some kind of alien craft or alien creature. It looks absolutely huge and looks really cool. Really nice textures of the water reflecting onto the underside of that form, and just generally really lovely piece of work. Fantastic, Chris. Keep up the great work. Okay, we've got a really great piece of work from David Mihai, and this, if you see from the video that I'm going to play that David's provided me, went through a few various different stages. Now I really like the end result of this strange, desert scene with a pyramid on it, with this strange sort of reptilian form that seems to be floating in, which is really cool. But I also like the stages that David went through. Some of the earlier versions of this particular piece of work actually look really cool as well. So it would be nice to see perhaps some of those background forms resurrected, David. If you could have combined that with the desert, it would have been really cool. Having said that, both versions are really great, so I really appreciate this week's contribution. Especially like the kind of scaly, the reptile texture on the form. I think that's a really interesting idea. And it's one that both yourself, David, and Andre have looked at this form and figured out for yourself as well, independently. So obviously there was something about the form that was steering you both in that direction, which is really interesting to see. So well done, really great piece of work, thank you. Okay, the next piece of work is from Glenys Stott. It's quite a funky, quite an interesting piece of work. It looks like some kind of bizarre alien sheep. Really vibrant colours, quite simple in the forms, but really an interesting piece of work as well. I really like that, Glenys, thanks so much for that. Okay, the next piece of work is from John Arts. Similar colour scheme to Glenys's work, and again we have some kind of alien mouth or creature in the centre. There seems to be some kind of mechanoid web structure, and something strange coming out the mouth of it as well. Really like this piece of work, John. Really like the colours, the pinks and the blues really contrast well together, and there's something very alien-like about it, like the Alien movies too. Fantastic piece of work. Always appreciate your contributions, John, so keep up the fantastic work. Thanks so much. Okay, the next piece of work is from Karen Cluner. Karen again has contributed 3 or 4 different pieces to this project so far, and I think this is probably my favourite one so far. Really vibrant, really colourful. I love the almost like a sun form in the background where the bug seems to be sort of coming out of. Obviously it appears like the center of a flower as well. Love the textures, love the colors, really vibrant and really imaginative. So really great piece of work, Karen. Appreciate it so much. Thanks very much. Okay, and this piece of work is from Veronica L. A really quite sci-fi piece of work, which I really appreciate. It definitely reminds me of John Art's contribution as well. I guess stuck quite faithfully to the actual lines of the drawing that I provided, but this one's got really interesting little lights, so it really looks like a vast spaceship, especially with the kind of planets in the background and the starry scene. Really looks great. Nice kind of muted color scheme with a kind of light effect maybe coming from the lower area, which really works effectively. It's a great piece of work, Veronica. Thanks so much. Please do contribute again. Be fantastic to see what you can come up with in the future as well. Okay, in addition to those contributions, there's also a piece by Angus McRae that I forgot to include in last week's video, last episode's video. Angus sent it to me via Facebook Messenger, and when I was going through the Dropbox images, it wasn't there, so I've forgotten about it. And I was really gutted about it because it's a really amazing, fantastic piece of work. So much atmosphere, so much detail in this. I really love the way that Angus has taken some of the forms that I provided, but put totally his own spin on this. A really kind of gothic, sci-fi, horror kind of atmosphere going on with the whole piece. Loads of detail, loads of really just awesome detail on this. Really interesting. There's loads going on everywhere you look on the piece of work. There's extra levels and layers of detail. It's a spectacular piece of work, Angus, so I absolutely had to show this to everyone. I couldn't have it not be seen by everyone, so really fantastic, Angus. Appreciate your effort on this piece of work so much. Please do get involved in other ones. You've got a real good talent there. Okay, so that's all the contributions from the last episode. Please do get involved. I'd love to see what everyone can do with this week's drawing. Remember, the links are down in the description. There is a Dropbox link for your finished version when you want to send it to me. And if you go to my Patreon page, you can download the drawing. Make sure to subscribe, share your results with me and with anyone else who might want to be involved in the project or wants to see what you've come up with as well. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you again. See you later.